Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Betfred Boxing Show with me, your host, Rob Tebbutt. As always, I'd like to remind everybody to please like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on for more boxing content. Now that's out of the way, I'm joined by the usual twosome this week of the former WBO super-featherweight champion of the world, Mr. Barry Jones, and not former world champion, Mr. Andy Clarke, as we review this past weekend's boxing and look ahead to this weekend. How we doing, chaps? Good?
Yeah, that beard's getting bigger, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
think the chin's getting bigger and the beard's staying the same length, to be honest.
It's massive, that is. There's a half a Twix in it somewhere.
It's getting there. It's also getting quite grey.
I know what that's like.
Yeah, it's popping up.
I don't know. It's
little bits of grey in there.
I used to be proud of that.
I'm only 35, so there's quite a lot of grey for 35.
Is that all you are?
Yeah, I know.
Look, imagine if you didn't imagine you were bald like me. You look all 90.
Luckily, I look after myself, Barry. So keep myself in tremendous physical condition.
It's mad, isn't it?
So we're okay.
You're not going to get them my age. That's the thing. It's a waste of hair. It is, though, isn't it?
That's what I'll do. I'll leave it to you.
I probably look, because when I end up getting the sack, I probably have a few more. If I had hair and a little bit taller and spoke clearer and was a better boxer, I'd probably have more longevity in my job.
That's what I'll do when it comes down to the organ donation. You can have my hair. There you go. I don't know who wants the heart. I mean, the heart is probably nobody. Probably the heart's probably going to be the thing that packs me up.
Your head's big. I'd have a hairy back with it and everything.
You certainly would. Anyway, interesting start to the podcast. Andy, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I've come straight from Heathrow because I was in Ghana the last few days. First time I've been there. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was a great experience. I know you've been over there, haven't you?
No. The Zone have, but I didn't.
You didn't do. I didn't know.
I've never gone.
I think the Book and Boxing Arena is absolutely fantastic, and it was a really, really enjoyable night. It's different, but in a really, really good way. It's organised chaos in the way that boxing always is, but with just a different kind of flavour because you're in a different place. The crowd are incredible, and the atmosphere is really just sensational. And the arenas, you can get 4,000 in, and the floor space is, you could probably fit a tennis court in it. I think there is kind of a basketball court there some of the time, but that's how kind of small it is. And then you just get straight into the stands. So it's tight and it's really kind of intimate, and it's a boxing hotbed as well, isn't it? You know, Azuma Nelson, Ike Quarty, Joshua Clottey, Richard Comey in more recent times, Agbeko. Loads of really, really top fighters have come through that part of the world, and it's just a thrill to go to places like that. And the people are really, really friendly too. It was good.
Clarke's away days.
Yeah, I know, it was great. I advise anybody, if you get the chance to go there and get the chance to watch some boxing there, do it.
Do you know what I didn't like about it? The transfers.
Oh, there was a transfer.
I was texting him.
There was a transfer in the corner of the ring, and the fighters kept slipping on it, and that's why they were slipping. It was because of you see it quite often, don't you?
Yeah.
And particularly a couple had quite new boots, and they were slipping. And in the corner as well, there was one corner in particular where they were dousing their fighter in water. So everybody then assumed it was that, and it wasn't that. And then they started mopping the corner and kind of like mopping the transfer, and they're just making it worse. And I must have said it 17 times on commentary that it's the transfer. A minor detail.
How about you, Barry? How was your weekend? Get up to much?
No, I
keep it clean.
Yeah.
You never know.
Like he's having some kind of weird weekend.
you never know.
I wouldn't call me a gimp, but it's good. I watched the boxing from home on Netflix. Not live either, I gotta be honest. I watched it a little bit later, which is always I don't know why. Because you had the kids, so I'm very rarely home on a weekend, because I just don't like my family. No, but so I had to watch all the family programs, like I know.
At Home and the Furies.
No, I don't watch that. I've never watched that. I've got no interest in it. I've got interest in watching them box. I don't want to watch what they do in, like any fighter, what they do in the house. I don't care. But I get filled in by every Fury fan. I don't watch it. But but I watched the fights. It was nice to watch it at home for a change. Yeah, good. That's pretty much all I did then, mate. I gotta be honest. Yeah.
You it was Friday, the card that you worked across, didn't it? Was it Friday?
Oh no, Saturday. I forgot about
Saturday
that.
During the day.
I work Saturday morning. Yeah. So I had to go.
I track of it.
I didn't go to Japan, just in case you thought I did. But I went to a studio in Cobham, which is not far from me, which is brilliant.
I thought you were going to say it's not far from Japan. I was thinking
No, but quite often,
geographically.
if you do the zone feeds from, as Andy knows, Andy had to do a show from London. He had to go to Leeds to do it from London.
The box I could almost see from my house, and then ended up being Leeds.
So that's where their main studios are. But I didn't. Sorry, what are you doing?
I'm just there. We go. Yeah,
That
I'm
way.
a bit paranoid because last week we had some comments on the audio, so I'm like,
that's my accent.
Yeah, I'm a bit paranoid. But anyway,
But as I was saying, which was very interesting. It wasn't. We didn't have to go to Leeds. That was the thing. Go to Leeds would have been a bit disappointing. So me and Darren Barker, who was the main comms, we went to Cobham and did it. Did Juan Francisco Estrada's probably last fight.
yeah, I would imagine it probably is going to be his last fight. Are you what random aside? Are you getting? I know we spoke about it briefly. Are you managing to get over to Japan for Inoue Nakatani?
No chance.
No
chance. So I think I'm doing Conor Walker versus Sam Eglinton, which is not a bad consolation prize in Wolverhampton. It doesn't. Oh no,
basically the Inoue Nakatani of the Midlands.
No, it's nothing like that. but it'd be a war.
Yeah, it'd be a great fight.
But I'm still tempted that I'll lose money to go to Vegas.
I'm going.
Yeah, well, that's what puts me off.
And then he'll think, well, actually, how can I charge him for stuff while I'm over there? And then he might come.
Well, if I can get a pod off you or something like that, some couple of quid.
Maybe.
But
we have to do it at the blackjack table, though.
No, but
I'm not going there working.
Well, I'm thinking, like, the zone don't want me over there. But if I'm over there, they might use me. So they might pay me for one job, which maybe pay for the hotel, and then and use pay my spending money. I just got to pay a flight, haven't I? So you know what I mean? I got loads of points, so I can get that for half price. It works out. I'm a gold member now at BAC. So,
Oh, you finally got it?
Got it.
You finally got it,
yeah, got it.
Yeah,
So anyway, so I'm tempted about going there, but you know what I'm like? The thought of losing money is like, is worrying for me. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. Who knows? But I think that Ramirez Benavidez fight might be fight of the year.
But yeah, it's a great card as well. It's some really good fights on the undercard. There's a lot of action on that card. And
it's Vegas. I feel I'm there since Spence Crawford.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was that 2023, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a while ago. Oh. Last time I was, to be fair, last time I was there was for David Benavidez' fight. I was there for Benavidez Morel end of January, start of February. I think the fight was.
And also the zone is showing it. So like, sorry, I interrupt you. So like, I know Grisham and all that, they're out there. I spoke to him the other day, Todd Grisham, and then. So I'm maybe get a game of golf when I'm out there. So
Cinco de Mayo in Vegas. It's not really bad places to go.
Isn't it?
But anyway, right, let's...
I haven't told you about what I'm doing the next week.
Let's talk about this past weekend's boxing. Mentioned Tenshin Nasukawa against Juan Francisco Estrada. But before then, Andy, going to come to you for Osles Iglesias versus Pavel Silyagin. Obviously, we've got the Tyson Fury Makhmudov stuff. We allow people to kind of join in and we'll do a little bit of this first. Pavel Silyagin contesting the vacant IBF super middleweight title, of course, vacated by one Terence Crawford. Osles Iglesias wins by stoppage. A fight that didn't really catch an awful lot of fire, but Osles Iglesias is somebody everybody's kept an eye on recently at 168 pounds, gets over the line and becomes the new IBF super middleweight champion.
Yeah, I think it was what most people expected to happen. I've seen more of Silyagin than I have of Iglesias, but with Silyagin, he's got good fundamentals, as you would expect from somebody who had pretty good international amateur career with Russia, but I've never felt like there was anything particularly special about him, to be honest. He's kind of well-rounded and there's no obvious flaws, but he's never quite had that sort of that X factor, if you like, that extra bit. So I've always thought that he could get to that kind of level and give a decent enough account of himself, but that he would just be found slightly lacking, and I think that's basically what happened. But it's quite an interesting division that now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wide open now. I mean, we've got Lester Martinez and Christian and Billy, I think, are boxing again. We've obviously got Hamza Shiraz boxing for the vacant WBO in a few weeks' time on the Usyk Verhoeven card. Carlos Adames talking about moving up to 168 pounds as well. So it's a division that kind of had the Canelo phase, which kind of came to a grinding halt with Terence Crawford's win, and as it often does with an undisputed champion, once they check out, be it retire in his case or move up in weight, or as it may be, it becomes fragmented, doesn't it? And vacant titles become available, and that's what they're seeing now. So, I thought it was a was a decent enough performance from Jose Iglesias. I think he was headhunting a little bit. But yeah, got over the line in the end.
Disappointed in the... What's this?
Silyagin.
Yeah, I thought because of the way I know he does nothing fantastic, but he, like you said, his structure is pretty good. And I thought Iglesias was a bit loose, which is what he's good at. But I thought he'd be able to get down the middle a little bit more. I didn't think he'd win, but I thought he'd cause him a few more problems. And he never caused him any
It
problems.
was kind of survival a little bit, wasn't it?
Just almost like he was just standing there bouncing back and forth, not doing anything. And then Iglesias then, which is, let his hands go. And easy nice work for him, really. But also, like quite a lot of Cubans, there was a chance to really impress, and he didn't want to go that extra mile. Do you know what I mean? I'd do that extra bit more to maybe try and like get rid of him a bit more conclusively, and yeah. So even though you thought it's a good performance, it lacked that X factor, that maybe that division, to stand out, you need a little bit of something extra, don't you? I think.
Yeah, and he's kind of made his name so far, Iglesias, by being like a destructive knockout puncher, and it wasn't. But again, difficult against somebody who's not really trying to engage and somebody well schooled as well.
And also, he got that title now, so like that's his currency, isn't it? And now giving the opportunity to be in big fights, because he's not going to be a guy who no one's going to clamour to want to box someone like him. Even if you think you can beat him, you think it's a hard night's work, always. So yeah.
Okay, that was Pavel Silyagin against Jose Iglesias. As we mentioned there, Tenshin Nasukawa against Juan Francisco Estrada. I thought it was an interesting fight when it was announced, Barry, particularly on the back of Nasukawa. He was kind of comprehensively outboxed really by Takuma Inoue last November. Estrada, as we all know, has been a fantastic fighter in the lower weight classes, but looked like Father Time may have caught up with him this past weekend.
And size as well.
Yeah.
He looked half the size, didn't he, of Tenshin. Let's call him now. Nakasawa. I keep forgetting his name. Mispronouncing his name, more like. Yeah, I fancied Estrada to stop him. I did. I thought he'd be able to get in close and hit him to the body and really make a dent. And he looked literally a second off the pace, which is massive in boxing, and too small. And even when he did sort of get into a little bit of a rhythm, it looked like he was touching the target because he couldn't get that judgment of distance right. And Nakasawa was boxed really well, I thought. I mean, he was a bigger guy, and he had so many more advantages, but he still used them. And like, you might have all those advantages and not be able to use them properly. And he did. And he boxed really well. And even though it's an older Estrada, maybe a naturally much smaller Estrada, and Estrada at the end of his career, it's still Estrada. I mean, only 2 fights ago, he was brilliant in defeat against Bam. I thought he was unbelievable. Like, I was ringside for that. It was like just a joy to be there. But yeah, he wanted the races, and I hope that's the last we see of him.
Yeah, I think it probably will be. It's difficult to see where he goes from there.
Yeah, but I think because he'll go, I can drop back down the super fly here now, and I could win another title, and the money in it. It's all there's always money to be made, isn't there, for him? He's
been a great champion. Yeah, I think
he's a Hall of Fame, isn't he? I mean,
absolutely.
I was saying that in the commentary. I kept saying it. He's a Hall of Fame. He's like this. There was 4 fighters there on the flyweight, the super flyweight range. They all boxed each other, and he has the best record out of all of them. Those great 4 fighters, Ring Versailles, Quadras, and of course my guy Bam. Everyone's guy Bam, really. But he's got the best record. He shouldn't have, because I don't think he'd beat Bam the second time. But I mean, on paper, he has. He got the best record against them all, and so really he comes out on top of that fabulous 4. But
his longevity's been amazing, isn't it?
Do you know why that is, though? He's smooth with his punches. He doesn't. So I think with that, like he's not busting a gut every time in fights, and I think he trains that way and fights that way. So I think he just keeps that like a real calm temperament to his work, which means I know like you can't pull the trigger, can't get that explosiveness anywhere when you're really trying to push a fight. He just has a nice smooth rhythm to his work. It's almost like when you see like people play golf, because it was the Masters this weekend. I know some people in their 50s can still hit the ball 300 yards and stuff. It's because they don't load up. It's all just a rheumatic, smooth rhythm to it, and it's perfect. And that's what he is. Just lovely. He's just at his best. He's just lovely to watch. I love those little guys. But he's lovely to watch. But he wasn't on Saturday morning, not at all. It was quite sad to see. Really, I was gutted for him. Happy for the other kid. Nakasawa, that's a massive win for him. That is now, especially coming off that defeat against Inoue. Even when you go into a rematch, look for the rematch. But that was the eliminator, wasn't it, for the same title? I mean, full of confidence, and I mean, he looks a better fighter than he did in that fight for sure.
There's another division that's kind of wide open a little bit as well. Still waiting to see what happens with Bam Rodriguez. Kind of the general talk is that he's going to go up to bantam and then pop back down to superfly, try and become undisputed down there. But yeah, interesting kind of period of time. Seiya Satsumi's like the WBA champion in recess, I think. So there's still taking shape, I think, the division.
This unifying titles, I don't think it's warranted anymore. I mean, you want to do it. I understand that, but I mean, if you can move up and just forget about it. You're renowned as the best fighter in that weight class, so just go in there. No one disputes that. Just go. You don't have to like. It's nice to pick up all the belts. I understand that, but I mean, like if you're tight for the weight, you just go up and chat and get that bantamweight and Eddie up. Get Eddie up, put on more weight and get the super bantamweight and box in the way.
Yeah. What a prize that'd be.
Please.
Get up and fight the winner of Inoue versus Nakatani.
For us, please.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I thought it was a good performance from Tenshin. Okay, right. Over to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Andy, going to come to you first. The return of Tyson Fury. The first time we've seen the Gypsy King in 16 months. Boxed to a, dominant decision win over Arslanbek Makhmudov. What was your thoughts on the fight?
I thought he was okay. I know he's been out for 16 months and that's a factor, but at the same time with someone like him, I wonder just how much of a factor that is really, because I think he's been in the gym for quite a long time. Makhmudov is obviously aggressive and basic, and he came at him early on, and you got to get to grips with that. And he steadily got better throughout the fight, didn't he? And in the second half, he was finding a bit of a groove and a bit of a rhythm. And I guess you could look at it and think he just needed to win, really, because we all think we know what's coming next, which is him against Joshua. And what you don't want to do is lose before that fight comes along. It wouldn't mean that you couldn't do it, but some of the plans they've laid at times in the past, Turki Al-Sheikh, haven't come off, have they? You remember Joseph Parker beating Deontay Wilder, for example, and scuppering the plans for Joshua Wilder, and Ngannou doing what people didn't think he could against Fury, which kicked back Fury against Usyk. So I think he was a pretty good choice of opponent. But I just feel like he should be stopping somebody like that, because Caballo cut him down comprehensively, and that was the point at which we kind of started to realise just how good he is. But Guido Vianello stopped him in 8 rounds as well. And he's a good, solid heavyweight, Guido Vianello. Saw him a lot as an amateur. He's a good pro, but he's not a top-level guy. Makhmudov is not a top-level guy. And I felt like Fury should have stopped him, basically.
Barry?
Yeah. I think he boxed well, Fury, considering all the factors that Andy mentioned about the inactivity. And you have been training. It is different. We all know it's different. It is different. Just going in there, the whole... I mean, you think he might not be nervous because he's had huge nights. But when you haven't done it for a long time, I'm sure there's all those getting used to your setup for a fight and how you feel before and all the whole build-up and routine. But yeah, and so he boxed nice and neat. But he did get clipped a few times, especially with some lead hooks there from Makhmudov. And yeah, I agree with Andy. They picked him to look good. That's the truth of it. He said because he looks good on the poster, because he's a massive giant lump, neck as big as most people's waist, looks the part. The UK audience know him because he beat Dave Allen, and so it was but slow and not with the greatest of engines, especially when you make him miss. And Fury made him miss enough to really turn the screw. And I know you want a win's important, just get that win. But I think he didn't have to, because the fight against Josh looks like it's going to happen anyway, and it always would. Even if he gets beat, it would still happen probably, even though it'd be less marketable. But I think looking good was quite important, and I'm not sure whether he really did. I didn't think he boxed bad, but he didn't set anything alight, did he? He just did what he had to do to get over the line, which is, job done. But there's more questions than answers again, I think. I mean, and if I was Anthony Joshua watching that with my phone, which he was, I wouldn't be scared now, like I would have in the past, because you just go, you couldn't turn up the pace with this guy. I don't know whether he couldn't or he wouldn't, but he couldn't, could he? There was very few times with Fury in that fight where you saw that transition of pace. all of a sudden he let the combinations go. He did it now and again, but not enough as he could and should and would have in the past against a guy who was really a sitting target for him. And especially in the later rounds when he should have really put his foot on the gas, but he used to and he couldn't. And then you got to think with Joshua, you think, well, I'll be going right direct with him and be more aggressive, and I'll be coming at him. And Fury always gives you like an opportunity to hit him. That's just the Fury that we always know. And he's never afraid to take a shot because whether you hurt him, he knows he can get up. But I wouldn't be scared if I was Joshua. No, I still make Fury a favourite. But after that performance, if that's the Fury we see against Joshua, it's a closer fight now than I've ever seen it before. Ever seen it before, by the way. I still think Fury's the favourite, and I still think Fury will win. But I always had Fury massively ahead, just because not because he was, not because I just thought stylistically it was the wrong fight. Any version of Fury was the wrong fight for Joshua. The one who can dance round and flick you and hold you and frustrate you was a nightmare for Joshua because he wouldn't have the feet to close the distance. And the one who holds his feet a little bit more, will take away your confidence because he'll bang you from out range and take a little lean back, or you hit him and he gets up and fires back. I mean, it's things that Joshua don't like. So I always thought he could beat Joshua, but now, without the same engine, he didn't look like he had the same engine. But then he's been out for a long time, so maybe that needs to just come back into play. But they're not young men anymore. That's the thing, and I'm blabbling here, but I think I agree with Andy. It was good. It wasn't great, and he should have really got the stoppage.
Andy, we spoke about it last week with Deontay Wilder, in a sense of that trilogy bout, and obviously the second fight as well for Wilder wasn't particularly taxing on Fury, but certainly for Wilder. But that third fight, the kind of, arguably the best heavyweight title fight this century, you'd probably say, wouldn't you? Like, I can't think of too many more that would compete with it. But do you think that the Fury drop-off has been since then? I mean, obviously he had two great fights with Alexander Usyk, who's an all-time great in his own right, but we've not seen sort of vintage Fury for a while. Do you think that Saturday was kind of an extension of that? Or was it more to do with the ring rust or a combination of both?
I think it's probably a combination of both, but he's 37 now. He's been boxing for a really, really long time. Obviously, he had that spell out where he did all sorts to himself, ballooned up in weight, and that's going to catch up with you when you get towards the tail end of your career. And he had that string of stoppages, and now his last four fights have all gone the distance, and Ngannou, Usyk twice, and Makhmudov. And as fighters get older, what everybody always tells me is that you can lose your gears, and Barry referred to it there, that kind of acceleration that
I think Barry's a prime example
that he's shown us before, where you kind of get it done. And he did it in that third fight against Wilder. I was at that fight, and it was absolutely wild. It was amazing. But he was put down twice in one round, and he managed to get back up. And I said it last week, Fury got up 4 times against Deontay Wilder. That doesn't happen. and his powers of recovery have always been incredible. And if they start to erode a bit and his feet aren't as quick as they used to be, then all of a sudden you're different, aren't you? And that happens to everybody. If you're clean, then that is what happens as you get older. So I do feel like those fights must have taken their toll. The 24 rounds against Usyk must have taken their toll. And I'm not somebody who listens to every single word that John Fury says, because a lot of what he says is just crazy, unhinged nonsense, to be honest. He's a fairly mystifying character, I find. But when you catch him in a sensible mood, he does talk a lot of sense about boxing sometimes. And for him to say that he feels like Tyson isn't what he used to be, people kind of dismiss it as him just trying to make some headlines. But he would know, I think. I think he would know. And I was interested to hear him say that. It's not a very helpful thing to have your old man say about you if you're Tyson Fury, but it's just a fact of life that when you've had a lot of hard fights, and when you look through his career, he's all right, pre-Klitschko, there weren't that many miles on the clock. And I know that he had Schwartz and he had Wallin, but Wallin turned out to be a lot more difficult than he was supposed to be. Dillian Whyte and Derek Chisora were pretty straightforward, but towards that tail end now, there's been some heavy duty rounds, and Garnu turned out to be a lot more difficult than it was supposed to be, and it all adds up. It all adds up.
And when you get older, and anyone can relate to this, especially men. Not especially men. That's a sexist statement. It really, no, it is. But about trying, you're not as brave as you used to be. Whether it's jumping on a trampoline, or fighting someone in the ring, or fighting someone in the street, the care for yourself is more aware. When you're young, you don't care. You have a fight with anyone, when you, if someone cuts you, who cares about getting a scar? But when you get a bit older, you're well aware of what's going on. Because especially fighting, I've been in and outside the ring, I've been beat up in both. I mean, when you're 20, you get hurt, or someone beats you up in the street, and 2 days later, you're jumping around like a lunatic again, looking for the next fight, because you're an idiot. But when that happens in your 30s and 40s, it's a week, 2 weeks to recover from that. So you're aware of it, so you're aware of your age, so you could become less brave, which means you become more thoughtful, which is not a bad thing. I call it losing your ball. I knew that. I had a road rage years ago, and I didn't react the way I would have years ago, and I thought I lost my ball, and I was glad. I'm a little man with a big mouth. But I mean, the whole thing is, like, he haven't lost his ball, but he might just be a case where he don't want to take that extra step. I've over-exaggerated to make the point. You don't want to do that extra bit of move or take an extra risk now, because he is a little bit older and well aware of the downfalls. What happens if, I don't fancy that now. Like before, you just go, I'll take that risk. No, the youth and exuberance of youth, I'll take that risk now. But now you're getting a bit older, let's be more sensible. And a sensible approach is a great approach. But sometimes in boxing, like I say all the time, no great fighters like Fury, has been a great fighter, and they know when to switch your brain off. And that's, you take that educated risk, your brain can get in the way so often. We've seen it with Joshua, is being more thoughtful. I said this loads of times before, being more thoughtful took away his magic. But before that, he was more careless, but made him a better fighter, ironically. So I think, you are going to have that wear and tear, but and same with him and Joshua, it's about how the decline is. It's impossible. You can't keep up that excellence forever, and those fights to take their toll. As Andy's right, what you say. It's just what you can maintain from them. And if you're boxing people at your sort of age group and so similar damage, then it's how you maintain your good stuff without losing too much, without incorporating too much bad stuff into you. And I think that's how you judge it up for that fight. How you judge it up, or who's sort of can maintain their qualities the better.
Yeah, sort of who ages better.
Yeah, I don't know. Thanks for saving me there. I was talking fucking bollocks. But yeah, I think so. It is that. And I mean, so he didn't box bad at all. But you're judging him on a high standard. And as Andy said, you're judging him on a standard of Tyson Fury, then he should have got the job done. And
also, I think you're judging him, as Andy mentioned there, you're judging him on how Ajit Kabayel did with him, how Guido Vianello did with him. And Guido Vianello, I agree with Andy, he's a solid guy in and around that kind of, might even be a bit generous to say fringe world level for Guido Vianello, but went the distance with Richard Torres, but lost pretty much every round. I mean, he had some success against FA Jagber, but still lost quite clearly in the end.
And not a massive puncher.
No. But the success that he had against Arslanbek Makhmudov was kind of what you would really kind of attribute to Fury, how Fury would have success, which is punching from range, feint, and then straight punches down the middle. And he really dominated that fight, beat Makhmudov up.
I think Makhmudov's a better fighter now. I think. But yeah, I mean, it was all gear. They picked the guy to make it for that. That he knew he could make him miss. He was slow. So he knew he was big. I can see what's coming. That's the truth of it. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Why wouldn't you have been out for so long? I mean, you pick a fight, he looks good, but obviously I can read everything he's doing, and you can. He's slow, isn't he? Even when he's boxing well, he's slow. And to make him miss, and he would tire out, like he did with Vianello, he'll tire out, then you can pick him apart and stop him. And I think that was the plan. But somewhere along the line, either Makhmudov just did a bit more because it was the biggest fight of his career, and his chance but he didn't do enough to make a dent at all, really. But Fury just played it safe. And that might be a sign of just, don't know if I got it in me. Don't know if I got it in me to push the pace. And that's a worry, that is. I mean, is it a worry against Joshua? I don't know, because how good is he? But it's a worry if he's on about boxing, coming back and really trying to threaten the world scene, the world championship scene. against guys who are young and fresh and will get up off the floor. You know, we'll fight and we'll want to like Caballel and
hungry guys. Got
Yeah.
a bit the pace still left in their work.
I think with some of the fallout that I saw from it, that I found kind of interesting, is that it's fair enough to set a high bar for Tyson Fury.
Yeah, sure.
It's fair enough to critique him. I wouldn't say harshly, but some people might use that word, but to scrutinise him because he's a top operator. You know, and he's coming back in and he's facing someone who's not on his level, who's not in his league. And it's reasonable, I think, to expect him to have gone after him and got the stoppage, rather than people watching it and say, well, it's good to get the rounds in and this and that and all the rest of it. It's like, it's you should set a high bar with people. We set a high bar with Joshua, criticised him after that fight against Jake Paul because he could have got that done better. You know, that's what we said at the time, and that was completely valid.
Even last week with Caroline Dubois. Sorry.
Yeah, it's completely valid. You know, these people are at the top of the game, and they set high standards for themselves, and we expect a lot of them. You know, that's the game they're in, and it wasn't some kind of disastrous performance. But at the same time, I looked at Makhmudov, and we talked about it last week. And as the fight was unfolding, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking to myself, Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, should stop this guy. And there's no real excuse for him not doing it, was what I thought.
I felt like as well, there's this kind of... And he won the fight clearer as the fight went on, but I felt like that was certainly at least attributed in a big part to Makhmudov. After 4 or 5 rounds, doesn't look like he's got much left. He becomes even slower, even more predictable, and even more of a... I mean, the last couple of rounds especially, Fury started to sort of dig into the body, and sort of towards the end of the fight, 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, he did really have a bit of a sitting duck in front of him. But as you said, Barry, couldn't really go through the gears. Right.
He'll probably say that he could have.
He
just kind of chose not to.
I think that's what he didn't want to, and I'm not sure whether he didn't want to do the rounds. There might just be a little thing. I'm not sure. Again, when you get a bit older, a little safety first mechanism. And I'm happy here. I'm winning well. You know what I mean? I'm winning well. I mean, that's all right for people who haven't got. If you haven't got in his locker, then fair enough. You do. If you haven't got no power, and he's not a big puncher, and he don't knock anyone out like me, then you go, well, you just do what you can do best. You don't take any risks, and that's what I would have done. 2 more rounds to go. He might be like knackered, this fella, but I ain't no puncher, so I'll just do what I do best, and I'll win. The last one, I'll just make a mistake and get beat. But he can do it because of who he is and what he's done in the past. Will show you and tell you that, and he never. So again, I thought he boxed quite well for being out for a long time. But as Andy said, and I agree with him totally, he could have and should have stopped him. That's the bottom line.
Okay, so what comes next? I think we know what Mr. Fury and Mr. Turkey Al Sheikh want to see happen next, and Frank Warren, of course, Tyson Fury's promoter. Andy, what did you make of the, I guess, very WWE style, I felt, kind of call out face? I can't really know how to explain what happened at the end of the fight between Tyson Fury and the landlord, Anthony Joshua, sat ringside.
It was interesting because obviously they're sat there and they're watching the whole thing, and I guess he was always going to go, but I don't think it was made clear to Joshua what was really expected of him, because it just seemed to be the case that, oh, of course he's ringside, he'll get up in the ring, it'll all happen as we want it to happen, happy days. But you're dealing with rare beasts, and they're not going to be told what to do. They're going to do what they want to do. And maybe on a different night he would have thought, okay, yeah, I'll get up in the ring and we can do this. But on Saturday he decided that he wasn't going to do that. And these are difficult people to kind of control or get to, march to the beat of your drum. And he's had an enormous amount of success, Turkey Al Sheikh, with making fights and making fights ahead of time and getting people to play along with the script. But they're not always going to do it. And Joshua wasn't of a mind to do it.
He was right though, wasn't he?
I think he was, yeah.
Expand on that, Barry.
Well, the fight, because this fight has been talked about for years, 10 years, and not quite 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, even I think the first mention of it was around.
Yeah, but
somebody said, I get what you're saying. But
18, 19 was really realistic, wasn't it? But maybe it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, when was Fury? When was Joshua Parker? 2017. 2016.
18. March
18, yeah, Cardiff one, yeah.
The big call out in the ring afterwards. Yeah. Hey, Fury, you fat fuck, or whatever it was like. But that was before. Not my words, Tyson.
But you said it. Though.
All of the talk even before that. I mean, Anthony Joshua won his first world title on the back of Tyson Fury being stripped of it. So it's kind of it's been in the pipeline now for over 10 years, hasn't it?
But like, so if he gets in and do a head to head, and then it doesn't come to fruition, then they're getting battered, and he might be the one getting the blame or whatever, because Fury could probably spin things better than he can. He'll get the blame. So not to put himself on the line there. He wants the fight. Like they both won the fight. But they won the money, right? The conditions got to be right for them. We don't understand this because we're not at their level. But I mean, all these things that we think, what's the point? I mean, and I understand. And egos are a big thing, but egos are what made them what they are. So they're going like, you're not getting 1 pence more than me. And then he's going, yeah, I don't care what I get, but I want to get 1 pence more than him. I joke about it in work with Darren Barker. I go, I don't care what I go with all these contracts they're talking about. I go, I don't care what I get, but I want to get 1 pence more than Darren. It's a joke, like. I want to get about $2,000 more than him. But and that's what they're like, though. It's petty. I don't care how much I get, but my name got to be on the poster first, just to show you who's the boss. And it's madness, but that's their egos, and it's fine. But I don't mind that. I quite enjoy all that rubbish. I mean, not when it spoils a fight, but then not to get in the ring, to be forced into do something that he doesn't want to do and take the shit for it if it doesn't work out. I thought that was showing your strength, to be honest. Because again, see, Fury calls you out, forces you to get in, even though Turki Al-Sheikh's playing the part, and he was a bit like, hang on a minute, for the first time, going, whoa, hang on, you're not doing what I told you to do. Which might be repercussions there, by the way, because he's still paying the bills, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, but also it's like, I mean, we spoke about this off camera, like that's, Turki Al-Sheikh has made a lot of fighters and promoters and lots of people in the sport a lot of money over the last 2 years or 2.5 years or whatever it's been. There's been a lot of fights that couldn't have happened, really, I wouldn't have thought, without his investment in this. Joshua Fury could happen with me as the promoter, not suggesting that I do it, but you know what I mean? Like it's a fight that sells out any stadium in this country, sells out any arena. Like I think certainly, I mean, considering how that all came about as well, you go back to the start of the night, Turki Al-Sheikh had put out a tweet saying, we have a big surprise, we could be announcing the biggest fight in British boxing history or English boxing, but first I need to kidnap Eddie Hearn and tell him. So immediately you're saying, we've got a big surprise, but I need to speak to Eddie, which means the fight's not done. Yeah. Then you've got Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn ringside. Eddie Hearn, by the way, who had already threatened to sue the promoters of the event on the day of the fight and the broadcaster, sat ringside, and apparently he's going to have to dance to the beat of Turkey's drum. I mean, it doesn't really seem like that's kind of a relationship of like, yeah, come on, get in here. Like, if the fight's not done, the fight's not done. And Anthony Joshua, for all of his, whatever people think of him, doesn't seem to be, I mean, he's not somebody who you see an awful lot of, he doesn't do the interviews, doesn't do the call outs. He wants fights to be done. And also, we all know what's happened with Anthony Joshua and his life away from boxing over recent months. I felt it was a little bit tasteless, to be honest. I felt like standing in a ring and bellowing and shouting and calling him a shithouse and a this, that, and the other for not getting in. I get that it's all part of it. But like to kind of, it felt like sort of like when you're at school where it's like, he wants to fight you. You want to fight him? You don't want to fight him? It didn't surprise me necessarily that Joshua didn't get in the ring, but I felt like it was the right thing for him to do. And
that's why I said good for him. It's like, you didn't call me. I don't want bully me doing anything I don't want to do. That's fine with that. Until the fight's on, I'll get in. But all the shouting at him, I mean, we praise Fury for being the best salesman in boxing, but you can't criticise him for doing that because it's Joshua. I mean,
it's not even necessarily that. It's just the fact that like the fight's not done, but you're trying to get him in to come and do this when you know the fight's not done, and it's kind of. It struck me. It was sort of like a bit of an ambush, wasn't it? It was kind of everybody. Everybody kind of like trying to browbeat somebody who's just not going to do that.
And he did the right thing and said, "Well, you carry on, but I'm not doing that. Now you carry on. You'll do your thing. I'll fight you, but I'm not doing what you want me to do. Get in the ring and like announce a fight that's not signed yet, because." If it doesn't get signed and we had a big announcement, we've done the head-to-head in the ring, it looks worse than ever before, doesn't it?
Oh, and if Anthony Joshua goes and takes a warm-up fight afterwards, and which by all accounts is what seems to be anyway, but certainly potentially going to happen.
Who's that, by the way? Because that's another banana skin, isn't it? Whoever that is.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's not, I mean, both he and Fury, and I mean, there's arguments made, Wilder and Chisora a couple of weeks ago, it's like they're not, he's in a position where theoretically AJ could box anybody because he's not looking to stay in any rankings to win a title. He's not defending a belt. He could fight a Rico Verhoeven, which is the name that, by the way, I think he was going to box, or he was certainly in the mix before what happened to him in Nigeria at the start of the year. So,
but he needs to train for a sharp fight there, but then there's a risk that something happens there.
What about Joshua against Makhmudov?
Oh no! I just fight. I understand because Fury's at the warm up. No, I'm on a warm up, but I mean the timeline's never going to be right. This is the last fight for you both, really. The last big fight where you should finish. Win or lose, you should finish because no one's defending an undefeated record. It's the biggest fight in British boxing history. Financially, it will be, and it'll be a huge fight. Just take the money and go fight each other now. I mean, realistically, for Joshua, his career now, like looking for world titles, is probably beyond him now. For Fury, it's more realistic, but it's probably too far away for him now, you would guess, judging on that performance on Saturday. I mean, so it's a naturally made fight more than ever before because the options are less, I think.
But if you're Anthony Joshua, I mean, he hasn't had the Jake Paul fight, whatever, was what it was. He hasn't been in the ring since getting knocked spark out by Daniel Dubois. But potentially 2 years since.
But it's a potential. But so who does he fight? I mean, is a potential he gets knocked out by anybody?
Nelson Hisa. So I don't know, anybody kind of like a. It's not going to be the greatest fight in the world for people to watch, but getting a run out, getting a camp, he's with a completely new setup now with Alexander Usyk.
I don't think that's a great thing, and a new setup. And I mean, I understand, but in that case, if it was a younger fighter, you go a new setup, so you want to get a fight to embed each other and all the rest of it, the team, how it works, and you want to keep fresh and you want to be sharp for that fight. But the stage of his career that he's in now, he could lose to anybody. Joshua could be brilliant and vulnerable as well. He's vulnerable as well, I think. Though he's still, I think he can still punch hard and he can still box well, but I think he's vulnerable, and I think it won't take much for Joshua's confidence to be turned on his head in a fight as well, by the way, I think. Because he's had a few hard nights where things have fallen apart for him. And I think because he's over, he seems to me like an overthinker. And I think then when you're an overthinker and to be brought back to that place, I mean, you panic. I think that'll happen for him very quickly. I might be wrong, but I think that's... So I think just take the Fury fight. The warm-up, no warm-up, just take it. I mean, you can all... Like, the way Fury boxes now, he always gives you opportunities, but the pace he's fighting at, if we judge him on Saturday's fight, you got I think Joshua still got that nice little rhythm to his work. So he can if he starts off aggressive very quickly, I think he can get to the target very quite quick and punch right down the line, down the middle. I mean, the longer the fight goes, the more you favour Fury for a stoppage. Then I think if Joshua has to panic and tire out and make mistakes, but Fury don't fight at a high pace anymore. Or judging on Saturday, he doesn't fight at a high pace anymore. That might have just been a different Fury that we'll see the next time out. And the thing with Fury, you're never sure which guy's going to turn up. That's the beauty and frustration of him, isn't it? But Joshua, I mean, there's not a lot left in him either. I wouldn't have thought. I think he should have retired after the last scrap, to be honest.
With the bar fight?
Yeah, he had a great career. He had a fantastic career. I mean, everyone's going, he couldn't beat him. I mean, look what he's done. Look what he's done. He didn't do it for boxing on purpose, but boxing has benefited from what he did. Everything he's done has been for everything he's done has been for Anthony Joshua. Like everything I did was Barry Jones, and every boxer does things for themselves. But big names, the big stars, the sports benefits from him, and he changed British boxing with how people view it, how people view big fights, about stadium fights. He made them a norm. I mean, through his success, made stadium fights a normal occurrence. I mean, it's unbelievable. And he had a brilliant career and he had more money than you could ever hope to earn. So didn't end up being the very, very best, but he's a two-time world champion, not two-weight. He's a two-time world champion. Not bad, is it?
No, it's amazing.
Isn't
You
it,
think
like?
he took up boxing when he was what 18, and 4 years later he's winning an Olympic gold medal. Like I will always, it's a hill I will always die on with Joshua, because it's unbelievable what he's achieved in the amount of time he's been boxing. And when he got that win against Charles Martin, and it was 10 years to the day last week, wasn't it? That 10 years has gone quick. You win a world title, and okay, Charles Martin wasn't the strongest world champion we've ever seen, but what happens then is you get pushed up through that bottleneck, and there's no coming back, particularly if you're a name like him. And then he's learning on the job then, and he had that life or death with Klitschko, which would have taken something off him, more than people probably thought at the time, because he won. You don't think about the chunk that can take from somebody. And then, he's Takam, okay, he came in as a late replacement, but it's a massive stage and huge pressure again. And then Parker, huge pressure. Povetkin, dangerous guy at that point, and that's a 4th stadium fight in a row.
Yes.
And then you go to America, and Ruiz happens, and you've got to bounce back, and COVID gets involved, and there's all sorts of things going on. I mean, what he's managed to do has just been, it's amazing. It beggars belief. And okay, maybe he isn't the greatest heavyweight to ever have walked the face of the earth, and he's got his vulnerabilities and he's got his frailties, and we've seen them exposed, and he's had to live with it, and he's had to live with the criticism that came off the back of this adoration that he had. And I think that must be very, very hard, because we talk a lot in sport about people being built up and then torn down, and that happened to him. And I think he would have seen Fury come back on the scene, and all the praise and love he was getting, and just thinking, why I'm still here? Like, I've always tried to do everything right. What's going on? But I think he's got to the point now where he just doesn't really care about that kind of stuff anymore.
He had that. He did the interview with Anna Warhouse for Netflix afterwards, and he said, "Look, Fury goes away, he comes back, he goes away again, retires. He's like, I've been here. He's like, I've been here, and I've always competed. I've always taken big fights. I've always this." So I do feel like that probably is still in him a little bit with the whole stuff with Fury, and a part of the reason why he said,
could easily have not boxed Usyk, for example. He could have given that belt up, and he could have not done it. But he did it, and then he took the rematch, which, of course, he did. People like that, they're always going to. Most people, anybody really, would have thought, you don't need to fight Usyk again. And that second fight against Usyk, he pushed him really hard in that fight. But people don't remember that, because he grabbed the mic at the end of the contest and poured his heart out. And I was there, we were there, and
Check the belt. You checked that belt right by me. I was going with that.
And it was kind of heartbreaking to watch, because you could see how frustrated he was, and how kind of, I guess, embittered is probably the right word, he was with the whole sport and all the way he was being treated. And I understood it. It was kind of painful, wasn't it? You was thinking, please stop. But I understood it. More real than that.
Because with him, I think he went over the top a little bit massively. But I mean, with him, the biggest complaint with Joshua was he's too media trained. You can't get to know him. And then when people got to know him, they went, whoa, hang on a minute, that's too street for me. I don't like that. I mean, they want boxers. You can't have, like, some people just, I'm not saying he's nice or horrible. I don't know him well enough. He's always been nice to me, but I don't really know him. But like, you'd be surprised. But like, they want to be animals in the ring and lovely people outside. But some people just, I'm not saying he's an asshole. Some people are just assholes in and out the ring. Some people are nasty in and out the ring. Some people are lovely. Some people like me are assholes outside the ring and lovely inside, which is the worst combination. But I mean, you don't always get what you want. I mean, that's, so like, the fact that he's being himself is good. And if you like him for who he is, you like him. If you don't, you don't. But his speech after Klitschko was better than the fight. It made every kid who liked boxing go to the gym on that Sunday morning, guaranteed.
It was amazing.
But I would say, Fury's also been a phenomenal story.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, arguably better the way he's come back from adversity, and some of it was his own doing, but still coming back's a big thing. And the way he's come back and taken that Wilder fight at that stage of his career was a suicide note. It was a crazy. I mean, I didn't give him a chance. I did the broadcast for that, and after being ringside for the two comeback fights against Sophia and Pianetta in Windsor Park in Belfast, and I went, yeah, it was horrible, wasn't it? I went, he's got no chance against Wilder. I mean, I thought he'd be outboxing him like a lot of people can, but he can't keep away. He's going to get caught. He's going.
I thought it was a cash out. I
Yeah.
thought he'd kind of like had those 2 fights and realised it's not really there. I may as well take a big one for a lot of money.
And he boxed brilliant. He boxed brilliant. I know that last round, that's the story. But up until that, he was boxing so well. I mean, he playing with him at times, I thought.
A brilliant fight. Brilliant fight week, I felt. That's one.
Yeah,
Still
good
looking back,
one,
it's one of my
yeah.
favourite,
Yeah,
if not
man,
my
yeah.
favourite ever fight
I told
weeks.
you, all week was brilliant.
Because the second fight, I think we said this on the pod before. The second fight was, it was ESPN and Fox at the time, and it was much more corporate, much more of a
Yeah.
big event. Whereas the first fight week was like the Wild West, wasn't it? It was
But the second fight, though, again, go back to that. He's saying, "No, I'm not running this time. I'm going to walk right through him." And I go, "Whatever. You just talk. He just says what he wants to say. But what he's going to do is what he's good at, and frustrate you and negate you and make you miss and beat you on points." And like he did the first time, I thought most people thought he did on the first time. Just do it again now. Just don't stay on your feet in the last round. But he did exactly what he said he was going to do. He walked through and he bullied him, and it was just like one of the best performances by a British fighter away from home. It has to be. It's not the best, but it's one of the best.
It's right up there.
Like whatever you say about Deontay Wilder, at that point, even after the Fury first fight, which was a draw, he was still one of the most dangerous heavyweights ever. Still. I mean, because he hit you anywhere, at any time of a fight, which he's proved, and he can put you to sleep. He put Fury to sleep in the last round. He just got up because he's a weirdo. I mean, it was mad, isn't it? So either way, they're both great stories, and they're both like, and you can learn so much from him. And whether you love him or hate him, and you haven't always got to pick. That's the problem with Joshua. Once Fury became the saint, Joshua had to be the devil. I mean, why?
Yeah.
People do that, don't they? Well, if I like him, I can't like him. You can like them both, but they don't.
Life is particularly in a sport like boxing. Life as a top operator, it's just this mad binary existence where it's all success or failure, praise or criticism. There's no in between, and and you have no choice but to be thrust into this kind of position where people expect you to be a role model, particularly if you've won an Olympic gold medal in London. And it's not. I never think it's fair to expect these people to be role models in everything they do. It's just, how's anyone supposed to do that? But that's what's demanded of them. And when they kind of reveal themselves to be human, people just pile on. And it's a mad thing to watch. And that's happened to both of them.
I think the biggest worry for both of them, they'll think that this fight defines their career. I don't think it does, but they will think that because losing to anyone's bad enough. But when you're a world level fighter, world champion, and successful as they've been, losing to someone from your own country, like this domestic, all of a sudden it becomes a domestic fight, and you don't want to lose at domestic level in your eyes, which is not. But I mean, so losing to each one would be a problem for both of them. I think it'll affect Fury more than Joshua, in my opinion.
I've always thought that.
Though I always thought losing a fight in general would affect Joshua more than Fury, because Fury's been boxing since he was a baby. So when you do an amateurs from young age, losses are just part of the game. Everyone loses as an amateur, unless you're Lomachenko or Andre Ward. He lost one. Lost two technically. One on appeal. But I think this one will affect Fury more. So again, the negotiation is going to be difficult even for this. But I think now or never.
And I think as well, that's kind of back onto the point of AJ versus Fury and whether or not we'll see Anthony Joshua take a warm-up fight. Like, I think everybody, I mean, you'd have to be slightly biased, I think is probably an understatement to say that anybody other than Alexander Usyk is the best heavyweight of this generation, or the generation that we've just had, right? Yeah. But there is still that who's the best British heavyweight. Okay, you would say now Tyson Fury. I think we would all say that. Yeah, you have to, but if Anthony Joshua were to knock him out in 6 rounds, for the wider kind of discussion point, it would like Brook Khan. Khan had a better career than Kell Brook. Kell Brook bashed Khan up. Okay, yeah, they were completely different, like end of their career, completely different stage of their career. But when the chips are down, who won that fight? Kell Brook won the fight.
Yeah, but if you were doing a pound for pound list, you would put Khan above Brook.
Yeah, but the everyman in the street is not, isn't aware of Amir Khan, beating Kotelnik or these guys and stuff. It's like it's the why that appears, isn't it? And like we've said for such a long time about Fury versus Joshua, it's kind of got that like Euro 96 feel about it, London 2012 feel about it. If that fight gets made for Wembley Stadium, that will be the thing for the country at that point.
I think you put it in Glastonbury.
Well, there's talk about it going to Croke Park, isn't there? Like
somewhere like somewhere bigger, like somewhere where you just have like people just
The
like
Croke Park
walking up.
bizarre. Like why would you take it to Croke Park?
well, the rumours allegedly is for tax reasons, but we'll see.
They should put
kind
an
of
area
whether-
50.
I mean, Croke Park's an amazing stadium,
Yeah.
but they're both English.
Yeah,
So
Fury's Irish. Won the Celtic heavyweight title.
Oh,
didn't he?
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Let's put it to Nigeria then for Joshua.
Yeah, could do two fight deal, one in Ireland,
Deal.
one in Ireland.
I forgot about that. I
But
forgot
just
about the two-fight deal.
back onto the fight, because we do have to get through some other bits. Andy, going to come to you. Did what we saw at the weekend change your view on a Fury Joshua fight? Is it closer now, as Barry said?
Yeah, I
do
think it
you
is.
favour Anthony Joshua?
No, I think it is closer now, and I think watching it from ringside, Joshua will have liked what he saw, because we don't know whether Fury could have upped the gears and gone through the gears but just chose not to, or whether he didn't want to because he was slightly concerned about doing it, or whether he flat out just can't do it anymore. We don't know the answer to those questions, but what we do know is that he didn't do it. It didn't happen. And when Makhmudov was getting after him, I never felt like he was in massive danger at any point, but those feet are not the same as they used to be. And a few years ago, I felt like Fury would subject Anthony Joshua to a pretty awful night, to be honest. He just wouldn't really be able to get a hold of him at all, and it would be massively frustrating, and he would lose wide on the cards, and it would be not a humiliating experience necessarily, but not far off it, potentially. Very demoralising, that's a better word, very demoralising. But now, those feet they're not the same anymore. He's no longer really the heavyweight who moves like a middleweight. He still moves very well compared to a lot of other heavyweights, but he's not the same, and you're not going to be. It's not possible for you to not slow down. And we're talking fractions, like we always say. We're talking fractions. So I think Joshua will have been, I think he would have been sitting there, and when he watches that back on the footage he took on his phone, he'll be thinking to himself, okay, good.
Maybe he doesn't have a Netflix subscription.
On the broadcast, they said, "Why don't you just watch on Netflix in 4K?"
Yeah.
But he was taping the corner, I think someone said.
Again, you
can't hear the corner, though, can you? But maybe he wants to look at his reactions when he goes back to the corner. Whatever he's doing, maybe he's not. Maybe he's FaceTiming somebody, and who knows what he's doing? Like maybe watching a series on Netflix.
But it was fun to
He's
see
watching
that, though,
The Zone,
wasn't
he
it?
was.
Because he obviously will have known. I know we've covered it, so I'm not going to go back over old ground. But he obviously will have known that at the end of the fight something was going to happen, and so he would have decided how he was going to play it. And that phone thing, you'd imagine that, I don't know, over the course of the previous few days, he might have thought to himself, that'd be quite fun just to do that. Or he might have come to him on the night, let's just do that. You know, people are going to be watching everything I do.
And three idiots on a sofa are going to start talking about it.
Two idiots on a sofa, one idiot in a chair. Anyway, just on that as well, with kind of Fury and Joshua of a few years ago, I do feel like Fury, on the back of not only the 2 Usyk fights but the Ngannou fight as well, like, and also kind of AJ was a lot more kind of, he was quite cold in the way that he handled things at the weekend, which I felt was good and kind of put him in quite a good light. Almost wonder whether or not Fury's kind of pre-fight antics and the mind games and stuff like that maybe won't have as much of an effect now at this stage of their career as well. I'm not sure. Whereas a few years ago, I could have seen that sort of mental torture and warfare starting from the initial.
I don't think he cares about that stuff.
Don't think it would, but I think Joshua.
That's the biggest thing.
That's it.
For one time, Fury was was selling this like, I'm the greatest heavyweight of all time, I'm unbeatable. And even though you go, oh, whatever, you start, when the fight gets close, you start thinking, the thing is, though, you haven't been beat, have you? Do you know what I mean? When you're on your own thoughts.
You've seen him do it. Sorry, you've seen him do it with Alexander Usyk in the first fight. He tried it with Usyk, and Usyk just wouldn't engage with it at all in that first fight. And then the second fight came around, he didn't even bother, because he'd already gone through that shtick and been beaten and been badly hurt in that ninth round, and kind of stripped. Felt like those 2 Usyk fights in a way, at least, certainly my opinion, did strip something away from Tyson Fury. I don't think he is the same for...
Which is ironic, because I think he boxed really well in both of them.
Yeah, it's not to say that he didn't, and Alexander Usyk is an all-time great fighter.
That's another thing. Is like, but when you box really well...
And lose,
like, it's hard, that is. It's sort of like... I've had as an amateur, I boxed really well and got beaten. I thought, I boxed really well there, but I didn't get...
It's the worst, isn't it? Because how do you explain that one to yourself?
You got to yield till you got beat by the better guy. Well, I can do that, but I ain't the great fight like him, am I? You know, for him to go... So you get knocked out, you go, I got caught with a shot, or you get, you know, well, you didn't before, I could have boxed better than that. I know I could have boxed better than that. So you have to convince yourself you could have boxed better.
Yeah, of course.
And in the second fight, I think he tried to box better, but lost wider.
But also the thing for him as well is kind of his way of doing it, seemingly at least, is, well, I won both of those fights.
Yeah, that's what he's gone for, isn't it? Because we talked about this quite a lot over the last few years, but it's a massive thing. How do you explain the defeat to yourself in a way that allows you to get over it and move on? Well, yeah, look at Wilder after that second fight. He tampered with the gloves. My costume was too heavy.
He's still going on about that.
All those sorts of things going on. I always remember Chris Eubank Jr., Liam Smith, you know, in the ring, in the immediate aftermath, they will be their most honest. And Eubank said he caught me with a good shot. That's the game. And Wilder said it as well after that, in pretty much immediately. I'm sure he did in that second Fury fight. But then a bit of time passes, and they think to themselves, "No, that's not going to work. That does not work for me." And they've got to come up with something else. And with Fury, the only thing he could say was, "Well, the judges got it wrong, and I won." That was all he could say, because there was nothing else there to kind of cling on to. To give him credit, he didn't then try and claim that he was injured or he was ill in camp or anything like that. That's something else that you can do if you want. He didn't go down that road. He just said, "No, I thought I won."
Also, it's worth pointing out, he didn't get absolutely destroyed.
No, of course.
Yeah, there were two. First fight was closer than the second fight, but there were still two very competitive fights. He had his moments in both fights, more moments in the first fight. So you can sell. Yeah. I say maybe he's not thinking he's selling it to us. He genuinely believes.
No, I think he probably does believe it, and I think it's interesting how things get not rewritten, but it's interesting how a narrative emerges that then becomes quite concrete. And it would appear to be the case that people look at those two fights between them now, and with a bit of distance, the consensus is that he was kind of quite well beaten. That's the impression I get from a lot of boxing fans, because his popularity has dipped a bit, Fury, and Usyk's an incredibly likeable character. But that isn't really what happened. No. You know, that isn't what happened. But the way things get framed sometimes can be quite misleading, particularly after that second fight, because we had the 3 scores of 8-4. I thought there were some really hard rounds to score in that fight. I mean, I did think Usyk won, but it was, you know, it was at ringside, you're scratching your head a bit. But then you get 3 scores of 8-4, and it was one of those nights where people watching decided that the judges were absolutely right, rather than deciding that they were a trio of absolute clowns, because people treat the judges how they want to. Sometimes they'll hold them up as evidence that, that was absolutely right. And the next week it's like, they don't know what they're doing. And with that one, everybody was fine with the 3-8-4s. It's not always the case, is it?
No. Fury's he was in the post-fight press conference, made it abundantly clear that if it's not Anthony Joshua, he's got no interest in Fabio Wardley, Daniel Dubois, didn't even mention Moses Satama, so I think that speaks volumes. So he said, if it's not Anthony Joshua, I'm going to go back into retirement, or if Usyk wants to do the trilogy, which I think we've said this before on the preview show, I don't think there's a great appetite for that, then he's not going to do it.
There's not a great appetite for it, but the first 2 fights were close. So, you know, I mean, the thing is, he gets beat. Yeah, he beat. He's past his best. Well, he is past his best, but he did get beat. But he got beat by the premium fighter of their era, and wasn't beaten up, and wasn't massively out-thought or out-fought, just out-fought and out-thought a little bit. That's all. I mean, and in this generation, in that level, little bits make a big difference. That's all. I mean, I don't think he ever beats Usyk as it goes. Unless Usyk gets, he's getting to an old man now, isn't he, in boxing terms? So maybe he starts to slow down a little bit.
He could get chinned by Rico Verhoeven
in
front of the pyramids of Giza.
The thing is, though, because he's a kickboxer, he won't be used to the
live on the zone pay-per-view.
The movement and the style, he won't be used to it. It's a great fight, but you gotta go. I hope I go. Take me, please. They haven't told me they're taking me yet. I presume I'm going, but I don't know. Like me.
Just go there on holiday and just turn up. Just turn up at the pyramids of Giza on the day. So, this is all.
Would you believe it?
I've done that a few times actually.
Right, okay. We do have to move on past the heavyweight division and talk about the co-main. The world's.
Have we done that yet?
No, we haven't. The world's costliest co-main in Conor Benn versus Regis Prograis. Andy, going to come to you first. Clear win for Conor Benn on the scorecards, but did he impress? Did he fail to impress? A big stage for him, obviously a lot of hype going into the fight with the departure from Matchroom and Zuffa Boxing. What did you make of Conor Benn's performance?
I thought both of the top two fights, the way that they went, were kind of similar to an extent. They're very different fighters, obviously Tyson Fury and Conor Benn, and context and careers and all the rest of it. But the idea was that they would both win and win well. And some would argue Fury won well enough. I think he should have got the stoppage. Conor Benn did not win well enough, I don't think, because Prograis was clearly injured. And he boxed pretty well, Conor Benn, and he was sensible. He didn't put himself in any unnecessary danger, which is smart because Prograis wasn't really able to move. He didn't have too much stability, but he is still a very good fighter, and he can crack a bit. So to an extent, Conor Benn did the right thing, but I just feel like he should have been able to stop Regis Prograis, to be honest with you.
Barry?
Yeah, exactly the same. And everything he said, pretty much. I thought he boxed well, Conor Benn. Actually, moved well. Could have thrown a few more punches now and again. You know, like he threw single shots and pot shot a little bit when he could have done in combinations, and that would have maybe had been an effect. I think Prograis' balance was better in the second half than it was in the first few rounds, which is weird. But he looked like an injured animal throughout it, to be honest, and he always looked like a second behind. And I think Conor Benn should have done a lot more. I mean, he boxed like a man who I'm not saying was wary getting hit, but was like wary that he didn't have enough strength, because maybe cutting out weight. I think he felt weak, Conor Benn. Well, he won't admit that, but I think he felt weak because he bulked up to go to middleweight. Not forget, sensibly, and did it the right way, especially for the second fight. And look, and even though he's not the biggest middleweight, he looked okay. And then cutting that weight again. I mean, I might say he might have not felt as strong and acted and boxed accordingly. I mean, his fitness was good because he was bouncing around non-stop, and he was too fast. And maybe they picked that tactic and style to beat the Prograis. He has no feet. Even Prograis at his best didn't have the fastest of feet. No. So fast hands but slow feet always. But I mean, with a view, so maybe just say to defend him, they got the tactics right for that opponent. Don't take a risk because he can punch, but he has slow feet, and if you go in and out with your feet all the time, buzzing around him, he won't get near you. And that's pretty much how the fight went. But as a view to boxing anybody at any level, not just world level, any level at welterweight, if you can tip those few pounds again, that performance won't frighten anybody. That's the truth of it. I mean, it is. I mean, Ben can punch. You've shown he can punch. He can clearly punch. You've shown it before, what happened with the drug stuff, and certainly after as well in the two Eubank fights at a higher level. He showed he had power and strength, and he's brave, and he got a lot of things that you can't teach. But he's not a boxer, and that's what he did Saturday, and he won that way. So I'm saying he's not a boxer. He won by just purely boxing and bouncing around. But if you're going to box like that at the higher level in our welterweight division, I presume that's where he's going to go. I mean, he better go that way because the super welterweight division is worse for him, I think. Then bouncing around like that is not going to work for you. It's just not. I mean, you got it because you're up against naturally better boxers at the and then you're up against guys who have naturally faster hands and the power. So you're going to become unstuck. He got to do what he does best and be aggressive. No, tenacity and speed is his friend and power is his friend, but he's got to be a bully. And with that, the risk of getting knocked out coming forward, but he does stay nice and low. We've seen him in past. He rolls into punches. Didn't do that Saturday at all. box totally different. And maybe he wanted to show a different side to himself. But I think it looked like to me from the outside that that's a guy who's boxing cautiously, which is against everything that makes him who he is. I mean, the criticism is that he there's no caution in his work. There's no thought in his work. I'm going to get to you, the destroyer. I'm going to get you, roll in, like his dad used to do at the better level, of course. But he boxed the other way. So like you criticise him for doing one thing and then criticise him for doing the other. But taking more risks is what makes him a better fighter.
It's also square pegs and round holes, isn't it? You know, you've got him, if he's going to go down to 147, which, by the way, I mean, it was 150 pounds. It didn't look like there was an awful lot of weight that could come off there.
That's quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, we spoke about this in the sort of the aftermath of the second Eubank fight and a few months ago, or a month or so ago, when the Zuffa stuff was announced, and he was over in New York calling out everybody, Shakur Stevenson and the like, and, you know, making that pit stop down, which he's now done at 150 pounds. I mean, see him after the fight saying, you know, I haven't made my own weight. This is the first time I've made my weight in 4 years. You didn't make it this time. You know, you've still got 3 pounds to come off, which, I mean, 3 pounds sounds like not much, but we all know that it is, particularly at that weight.
Percentage here, but see, people look about the weight. When you get into the low weights, don't think about the actual weight you lose. It's the percentage of what your body weight is. Then you start seeing how difficult it is.
And also, if he's wary of being hit, or if he doesn't have the same ferocity and punching power with at 150 pounds against a career 140 pounder, who, look, we've all kind of, well, he's retired after the fight, citing various injuries. He hasn't actually said about the leg or whatever was going on with his legs, but there was clearly some sort of issue. It wasn't the Regis Prograis. Certainly, I mean, it was miles from the Regis Prograis of the Josh Taylor fight. It wasn't even the Regis Prograis who boxed Jojo Diaz.
No.
And in the Jojo Diaz fight, very similar to the Conor Benn fight, I felt like he got buzzed right at the end of the first round, Regis Prograis. Yeah. Similar to the Jojo Diaz fight, where Jojo Diaz, for the first couple of rounds, hurt him repeatedly throughout, and he kind of numbed to the shots a bit and settled into the fight a little bit more, which is kind of how I felt like he did against Conor Benn. But if you're at 150 pounds, taking that pit stop, dragging a guy up who's 37, who's boxed at a much lower level in recent years, really since that Haney fight, not looked great. I mean, he boxed Danielito Zorrilla, and he was fortunate in that fight. You know, he was really poor in that fight, yeah. Regis Prograis. Like, and you're not able to make a dent in him. I mean, look, you know, you mentioned there about the
he didn't try and make a dent in him.
I don't know. I think he did. I think he hit him with shots that...
but it was single shots. He was looking for that...
But these were single shots that were knocking former world champions across the ring and cartwheeling here, there and everywhere. Chris Algieri, Samuel Vargas went 7 rounds of Errol Spence. He blew him out in a round. Like, the elephant in the room is there. Since those 2 clomiphene tests, he's not stopped anybody. He's not visibly hurt anybody. He really hurt Eubank at the end of the end of the rematch.
And we mentioned this loads of times before, like, about coming down in weight. You lose... Can you maintain that same strength and power when you come down in weight? Because that's quite often your sharpness goes, but also some of that power. Because you to get the speed, you got to push off all that energy you lack to throw those shots. Because he throws his body into his punches, so it all starts from your feet. He bends. When you throw, unless you're a naturally massively, like, mechanically perfect puncher who just swings his body into shots, he uses all the big muscles and throws himself into his punches like his dad used to. So it's tiring. You can't do that for 12 rounds. That's why they always look knackered, but they come back and they take rest now and again, and they're scrappy. Even this is Ben Senior, by the way. He was like that one. He put everything to every punch, because that's how nasty he was. But with that, it drains your tank. But he's such a lunatic that you gamble on the early rounds, do so much damage that when you do get tired, they're tired with you, or just looking for a rest or looking to hide because you battered them. But when you lose that weight, and like after putting on loads of weight and have to lose loads of weight, you're going to lose that energy to push yourself into punches. Unless you're like a Tommy Hearns, or someone who punches nice and long and smooth.
Yeah, you get the torque.
Yeah, and you haven't got that technique or that size and range to do it. His power comes from all energy, which is nothing wrong with that. But then when you lose that energy, you can't do it. And I think that was clear. And pot shotting is usually a sign of being lethargic, because you can't get your judgment of distance right, so you're pot shotting from too far out, and then if you have a question mark in your brain about your tank, then you don't throw in combinations, which he does, doesn't he? Quite often throw in combinations. I know he pot shots in all his fights, But quite often then he rallies quite a lot. He didn't do it very much in that fight, and that's wary of what he got left in the tank, and that's because of cutting the weight. I mean, it was his first fight back. We got to give him the benefit of the doubt. But again, about selling yourself to bigger fights, and he hasn't proved he's a world-class fighter. I know it's hard to say that because he beat Eubank Jr., who might have been faded, but he was highly ranked in the world. So by that method, that makes you a world-class fighter. If you beat a world-class fighter, you become a world-class fighter. But he's not that weight. He should be that weight now. I mean, his best stock would be 154 for his energy. But it's the worst way to go, I think, at the minute.
I mean, even so, like it's certainly
for the talent at the top.
The talent and the weight, I think, is the combination. But if now you're looking at 147 and you've got Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. I mean, Shakur Stevenson was 140, but he'd go up there. Keyshawn Davis, like you've got some real stars and real good fighters at 147 as well. Now you kind of like it's for me. It's like if you stay at 154, you're fighting naturally bigger guys who are still obviously very, very good fighters. You go to 147, you've got very, very good fighters. Okay, you're not competing so much with the size, but you're having to make the weight as well. So that's another big issue.
Yeah.
So you're not only just, it's not 154 for the bigger fighters, 147, okay, they're smaller, but you're depleting yourself. And if the same Conor Benn that we saw this past weekend goes down to 147 pounds, it's going to really struggle. He doesn't have that punching power anymore. He wasn't able to get Regis Prograis' respect, really. And this is a guy who's been hurt a lot in his recent fights. Devin Haney, not a noted puncher, as we all know. Dropped him and hurt him.
He wasn't boxing he was boxing, not fighting. He's a fighter, not a boxer. And maybe they got the tactics for that opponent to box. But that's what I was trying to say at the beginning. He's not going to box anyone at world level, at welterweight or super welter.
I mean, here's a question.
He's got to be beating him up or knocking him out.
After the fight, kind of within seconds, really, you had Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia calling for the fight. I mean, Conor Benn and his team will say it's because he's such a big star. I have my own, as we kind of thoughts on it. He's a big star, but relative
money for them.
Exactly, relative to the level that he is boxing at, they will see that. We spoke about this after Teofimo Lopez against Shakur Stevenson. You know, it is a fight that would be. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it would still generate a lot of money. I think this performance this past weekend will have seen Conor Benn's stock dip a little bit. I mean, I don't think his stock has risen after going the distance with a 150-pound, 37-year-old injured Regis Prograis, but it's still a big fight. But it's relative to kind of what they could generate from that and his ability. But I mean, here's a question. We've kind of had it for a long time. Like, could Conor Benn win a British title? Conor Benn versus Konstantin Ursu. If they make that fight next, Andy, who wins?
It's hard to know. It's hard to know, isn't it? Because
as the British champion.
As we've said so many times before, boxing is not like other sports in that it doesn't have the metrics of other sports. And I always compare it to track and field because that's another individual sport where your times are your times. You're wanting to win the race, of course, but your times are your times. And if you want to be rated, if you want to qualify for things, then you have to run the times. And they start that stopwatch and they stop it at the end. You can't arrange a race against a faded former champion, beat them, but no one's allowed to time it, so no one really knows. But that's kind of what you have in boxing, isn't it? And as we've said many times before, we don't really know how good Ben is. And we're not going to find out whether he's capable of beating Konstantin Ursu to win a British title because he's just positioned himself well above that. But on the basis of the weekend, I think that'd be a pretty good fight.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a fight that you would have a strong favourite either way, is it?
No, that I see that Ben. The Ben who boxed Eubank in the second fight. That was a good Ben, I thought. I know Eubank was what he was, but I thought he was really controlled, but still aggressive enough, and stamina was good. Everything was good. But this kind of Ben on Saturday didn't box. Again, he didn't box awful. He boxed quite. I think he boxed quite nice, quite neat. But that guy doesn't beat Ursu. That Saturday Ben doesn't beat Ursu. Now I don't think you get the same Ben because he knew he'd have to get in and put pressure on Ursu if he can. But Ursu's one of those guys. You're not going to fight him. I mean, and like you said, his name has elevated him now. Ben.
Yeah.
They're almost like not in the same sport.
Yeah, it's certainly not going to happen next. I mean, it is going to be a big fight for him. The rumours are that he's going to box Ryan Garcia later this year. If it's not him, there's a lot of fights if he can make 147, which he'd be able to. I'm sure before the fight he was saying.
I think the weight is a big problem for him though, isn't it? Because it's clearly he
has no weight.
he doesn't have a weight. And that's as simple as that. He doesn't have a weight. And Eddie Hearn was asked on the way out, and obviously Eddie's not going to be too complimentary about Conor Benn for obvious reasons, but he did say, I think he should go back up to middleweight. He was bursting with energy at middleweight, and I don't know if I would really endorse that necessarily because he's just not big enough for it. But at the same time, getting down to 150 was obviously hard work, and it did deplete him, and getting down to 147 will be worse.
And against, if you're fighting one of those guys, I mean, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, Keyshawn Davis, Yeah, that's a different level to Regis Prograis. I felt like the Regis Prograis fight was very similar to the matching that we'd seen from Conor Benn previously when he was down at welterweight.
Yeah.
Where you've got a faded, naturally smaller guy, comes up, doesn't really move his feet, and he's there for you to go through him, and he couldn't do it.
It's not going to give you any. You're not going to answer any questions. It's going to give you. It's going to give you no answers, but potentially more questions, and that's what it's doing. It's giving you more questions than answers. Because is he any better than he was? Is he worse than he was now? Is he any better than he was from before? What weight does he come at? Has he lost the sharpness? Is he world class? We don't know. I mean, I would say to his defence, he's not making the rules. By the way, his name's his name. I mean, he's in his fortunes. You can't knock him, and fighters are calling him out. By the way, he's calling them out now, but Shakur Stevenson was calling him out after his win. So they're putting him. He's not. His name's put him there, and he doesn't deserve to be there. Maybe, but you can't blame him.
No, God no.
He's there now. I mean, you can blame him for other stuff, maybe. But I mean, but for that situation, if they're calling him out, all of a sudden now he's at their level. I mean, on paper and ability and what he's done in his career.
It's in the conversation.
Nowhere near.
Yeah.
But because of his name's elevated him, which has happened quite often in our sport, continuously. So why wouldn't he take the fights? If he genuinely got paid what he's supposed to, that 15 million for that fight, I mean, that's just madness.
Yeah, absolutely. You certainly can't begrudge it. But again, like we do with every fight, you kind of have to, if we were talking about a potential fight with a Shakur Stevenson, a Devin Haney, exactly. Then you have to call it for that was not a good enough performance based on what we saw there to trouble those guys who were, by the way, I mean, we kind of spoke about this quite a lot, where welterweight kind of had a little period of kind of went a little bit missing, didn't it?
I was thinking that actually, but actually it's gone.
But when you look at it now, like those lightweights essentially who are all killing themselves to make 135 pounds, they've all gone and now up at 147. So like this kind of notion of 154 pounds being, infinitely more talent rich than 147 isn't quite the same anymore, but it obviously comes with the extra weight, etc. I mean, Josh Kelly versus Conor Benn. That's a fight that I would make Josh Kelly a favourite in.
You have to, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So it's interesting. Where do we think he does go next? Before we move on and talk about some of the rest of the card and do 5 minutes on what's coming up this weekend, where do we think he does go next?
I think a big fight. It's a big name now. I mean, he's not going to fight for nothing less than millions.
I think it's Garcia.
It's a massive fight, isn't it? I mean, for attention wise, it's a huge fight. Alive in the zone, UK talent in Vegas. I don't care about the fighters. Just care about I want a trip to Vegas.
Yeah, it could be on Netflix. That's the rumor. The rumor is that The rumor is that it could happen later this year on Netflix. Something we don't know, and that's one of the things that we didn't talk about with Fury and Joshua, by the way, broadcast stuff. But we'll wait. For my agent.
Let me voice note myself.
Okay, let's say it does happen. How does that fight go?
Okay, well, after the last performance there, Garcia stops him.
Yeah, that's the law.
I mean, Garcia has mad power, doesn't he? Mad speed. I don't think Garcia is that good, by the way. He has boxed all his life, and he can box, but he has massive speed. And with that speed, he has that power with that left hook. I mean, Ben pot shotting and bringing that right foot forward for the guy who has a really fast, brilliant left hook. You're asking for trouble. So Ben's got to bully him from the offset and make him rough and bully him. He cannot box him. All this bouncing in and out, you'll time that. And pot shotting, you'll time that. I don't think you'll box him. And you got to put it on him and make him feel the power early and bully him.
But can he even do that? That's the big question again.
He didn't show it on Saturday. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, that was his first fight down. You got to see what he's like when he has his next fight. But if it's Ryan Garcia, and judging what you've seen, if you can judge on, then that performance doesn't frighten anybody at that level. It can't, which might be a good thing. And then they all want to fight him even more, no? I don't know. And you say his stock's sort of
I don't think it plummeted, but he certainly didn't elevate with that stage, and that's against the guy who was, again, like Andy said, both Makhmudov and Prograis were there to with respect, to be knocked out.
To be honest, so if we're sat on the sofa now and he got rid of Prograis in 2 rounds, we're all just going, oh, you look good, but or say you got rid of Prograis in a round, you go, if you get the sit, I'd be saying, well, he did what he had to do, but against an older guy who's injured and naturally smaller, and he blattered him, but we didn't see much to say how good he could. Still don't know how good he is. I mean, he's damned if you do it, he's damned if you don't.
But we would have known that potentially, like, the power's there, the ferocity's down there, and like he's made the weight a little bit better. And again, not for the 2 idiots on the sofa and the one in the chair, but like the wider appeal of people who are tuning in on Netflix see Conor Benn knocking out somebody, looking spectacular, calling out Ryan Garcia. They don't know that, however many millions are watching on Netflix, they don't know that Regis Prograis is a 140-pounder, or that he's injured, or is this, or he got rocked by Jojo Diaz. Like, they don't know about that.
No, but they might know that he's a former world champion who Ben just totally outboxed, maybe, and then the narrative can be easy to, well, he lost to Eubank at the weight he was too big at, he was too small at, his career was derailed, he was just about to box the world title, maybe, and then his career was derailed for a couple of years. He came back and he moved up in weight, and he had that trilogy, they're trying to get the finish off the trilogy of the Eubank family, that he goes into a 4th fight and he gets revenge for his dad. It's a massive story, and then he moves down in weight, and then he beats a former world champion, and now he's going to box the new world champions. I mean, for a guy, people who don't really watch boxing, he might be still, that Conor Benn, to be fair to him, he's up and down weights, he don't care who he wants to fight, former champions, Eubank, everyone thinks Eubank's the world champion.
It's because they all watch the pod.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, he can be spun on his head very quickly. But for boxing people, we just go, there's still more questions than answers. But I got to go back to what I said at the very beginning. I don't think he boxed bad. That's the bottom line. I don't think he boxed bad at all. I think he boxed quite well and neat, without really showing loads of good stuff. But it looked like a safety first performance, and I think that's to do with the worry about the weight and the stamina.
Andy, before we move on, Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn, how do you see that one going?
You have to install Garcia as a heavy favourite, and that's just looking at what has actually happened in real life in their respective careers up until this point. And when you look at that, there's only one logical conclusion you can draw, which is that Garcia wins that fight. Okay,
we are going to move on, but before we do, we're going to have a very quick rundown of the undercard. We've kind of turned up today. We've just got to review that. We've got plenty of time. We're talking too much, and now we've run out of time. Win for Richard Riakporhe, becomes a 2-8 British champion with a stoppage win over Jamie TKV. What do we think of the stoppage in that before we move on?
Yeah. I mean, the referee's there can see his eyes, but it looked like for a British title fight should have been allowed a little bit longer, maybe, but it looked a bit quick for me.
Andy?
Yeah, same. It's one of those ones where you look at it and think, okay, I understand why he's done that, but if you were TKV, you might expect to be given a bit more of an opportunity.
Where do we think Riakporhe can go at heavyweight, by the way?
I like him. I think he's better. I think he'll only get better. I think he'll put weight on, see? But he'll put weight on. I think hopefully he puts weight down, puts it on cleverly, and not Nathan cleverly, but puts it on. Puts it on sensibly. There you go. And he's good. Punches neat and clean. He's not over extravagant with his work. Nice, all down the line, and he loops that right hand over the top quite often as well. But he can punch it straight, and he's long. And he uses that reach really well. And I think he's getting stronger. See, TKV, he doesn't look great. I know aesthetically he doesn't look fantastic, but he's awkward. He is, and he can drag you. He's almost like a heavyweight Tyler Denny. He can drag you into this fight early and make it really hard for you. And Riakporhe, because Riakporhe keeps his elbows tucked nice and tight, you're hard to grab hold of. He doesn't give you much. He just stays in there, tucks in, and leans and pushes on you. Yeah, I think it was a really good performance. I like him. I think he's a much better heavyweight than he was a cruiserweight.
Still, I think one of the fights that have gotten away in recent years are Coley versus Riakporhe. Do that heavyweight. Still a bit of spice there, a bit of needle between them.
Yeah, definitely.
Who looks better? I think he looks better as a heavyweight, even though he's a world champion, which is mad to say it. But I think he looks better. I mean, now you think, why were they just struggling?
He's 270 pounds, wasn't he? Or thereabouts, his last fight, or now. He's boxing Tony Yoka in a couple of weeks' time, isn't he? But yeah, that's a fight that we could see in the future. Rattling through it. Fraser Clarke coming up short against Justice Hooney. I thought Fraser Clarke boxed well. I thought he did.
Best I've seen him, I
Yeah,
thought.
I thought he boxed well. I think
He
the
lost fair and square, I thought.
But there's something to build on there, isn't it?
yeah, and certainly on the back of a less than stellar performance, should we say, against Jamie TKB. Obviously had the nightmare in the rematch against Fabio Wardley.
He drags you into his fights, doesn't he? You know what I mean?
But I think he looked strong, and he looked. No disrespect to his former show, he looked well drilled under Joe
Confident
Gallagher.
in his stamina. That's what he looked like.
But he looked good.
So
like, physically
important
looked
that is,
well.
to know that you got in the locker. Like when you had to, because what people and Dubaz is an example of this. When you get tired in a fight, you go fucking tired. But fitness is not. Fitness is the recovery after you get tired. Everyone gets tired. When you're fit though, you just push through it and you're okay. And then you get tired again, you push through and you're okay again. That's what it is. But you have to believe in yourself. Otherwise, when you get tired, you shit the bed. And you see that quite often, especially heavyweights, because they're vulnerable, because they're massive. But he looked good. He got beat, and Honey was like, it's just too fast for him, I think. Really good hand speed. But I think Clarke was the best I've seen him, I thought, even in defeat. So I think he lost, but I think there's lots of positives there for him. I think he's found the right trainer for him, I think, as well.
Okay, looking ahead to this weekend, Andy, going to come to you first for Friday night's showing. Nathaniel Collins and Cristobal Llorente lock horns once again after their draw. First time out. What do you make of that?
Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. It was a good fight the first time they met. He started, halfway he would have been up, wouldn't he? Collins, and then Llorente came into it in the second half of the fight. I fancy Collins in a rematch. I don't think he would have seen anything particularly from Llorente in that first fight that would overly concern him necessarily. I think maybe he'll just be a bit more aggressive, start a bit quicker. I know he was up at halfway, so that maybe sounds a bit counterintuitive, but I think he'll look back at that first fight and, well, it's not an opportunity missed because you get the draw and you get the rematch, but I do expect him to win it.
Barry, what does he? Andy just mentioned there about starting quicker. I felt like the first fight, the only fight to this date between them, I felt like he was ahead at the halfway stage. I felt like he ran out of gas a little bit, Nathaniel Collins.
He explodes into his shots. So, like sometimes he tries to hit. He tries to hit too hard. Don't try and hit hard. No, but
Jones School of Boxing.
Yeah, but when the guy moves and he is tough, innately tough, then you're tired all of a sudden. You start to panic a little bit. You didn't panic, but you start to worry a little bit. All you got to do is what he does after the punch. So quite often he's not admiring his work, but he throw a combination, will move his feet or come back half a step in a straight line, and then in the early rounds when he was a little bit sharper, so your vision's better, so you take that little step out, and Llorente would miss. But then as the fight goes on and you start to slow down, obviously because you are working at a high pace, then those shots, that's all. So what you got to do is when you still be aggressive, still do the same thing you're doing, so boom, 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 with combinations. Don't go out, stay close and do a pivot, innit? Like Kazagi, I just want to say Kazagi and bam. But I said it all day.
40 minutes in, we actually get it.
But we'll do that. Turn close to the target, then retreat. And then he's got to turn to look for you, and then he won't do that. I mean, Llorente's got it. The thing with Llorente, he'll know now, or he'll think, if I would have matched the pace earlier, I could have won that fight. I thought Collins won the fight in the first.
Yeah, I thought he won the fight.
But it was a draw, and he'll think, if I would have done more early, so I think he'll start faster, ironically, which might help Collins, because Collins, he can be aggressive, he can box as well, like on the move quite efficiently. But I just think it's that semicircle on the body. Just needs to bam, 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 move, and then maybe go again or retreat. But it gives you the option. But what he was doing quite often is either going bam, bam, bam with a combination and holding his feet to cover up the fire again. But that gave him a chance to go, you go, I go, you go, I go, and then brought him into the fight. And later in the fight, then your tight defence starts to be a little bit more open, and the punches come through, and you get caught with shots, and it makes it look it becomes a closer fight. So it's just a bit of smart move after he throws the combination, either moving for that second phase or move into retreat, but not going back in straight lines. And I think he can win quite well. But I think it'll be a harder fight earlier on for him. So I think it goes in reverse, where it was harder later on. I think it might be harder earlier if he does what I'm telling him to do. No, I think the latter half of the fight, then I think he has more success. Because if Llorente starts fast, then theoretically he starts to tire more. If you make him miss and make him look for the target rather than just be in front of him and allow him a target to hit back.
Yeah, a fight that
Drag that on.
That's all right. No, to be fair, you didn't, which I was very grateful for, because we've still got Saturday night to talk about. But before we do, just running through the rest of Friday night. So offering some good fights on the undercard. Dylan Arbuckle against Nico Livars for the vacant British super bantamweight title. Royston Barney-Smith against Conor McIntosh for the vacant British super featherweight title. And a fight that I'm very, very much looking forward to. Aston Brown against Sam Gilley. I think that's a really good fight.
I find that hard to gauge.
Yeah, because you still don't really know. Like Aston Brown, obviously he had his issues outside of the ring, but was a good amateur. And since he's come back into things, he's not hanging around. He's looking to get on with things. He can punch. Sam Gilley's always in great fights. He's always an entertaining watch. He's tough.
But hittable.
Yeah, and if you're hittable against Aston Brown, it could be a problem.
It is, but also Aston Brown always fights at his pace, which is not a fast pace, by the way. And if Gilley can make him fight at a high pace, because Gilley's tough. He doesn't look tough, Gilley, because he's like tall, good-looking kid, isn't he? You always think they haven't got the minerals to have a war. Like I got. People say that about me quite often. But I think he needs to make it a really hard-paced fight very quickly. Brown might be able to match that, but then again, you've got to watch out, especially that long right hand of Brown's as well. He gets that on target, the timing he's got. He's not the fastest. He is fast, actually. He's fast with the counter with the right hand, Aston Brown, but he's good, he is.
He's kind of like...
He's good. But we haven't seen him in a fight nowhere near this level. Nowhere near this level.
No, absolutely right. But he comes out and he's a bit like all over the place. It's a bit like difficult to kind of gauge what he's doing or what he's trying to do. Before you know it, like his last couple of fights, bang.
Focus, doesn't he? Looks like he's sort of going, come on, then he's going, hang on a minute, I'm not quite ready yet. Okay, yeah.
He went for like a little walk and then bang, fight's over.
When the fight started, mate. Oh, yeah. Okay, all right, then, sorry. And 30 seconds in, he's walked around the ring. He hasn't done anything. He looks like he's not focused in. It takes a while to focus, but he's sharp. But every fight he has is nice and controlled and quite slow paced. And if Gilley can up it, we'll see what he's made of, Brown. But I got a feeling he is made of something special. Not special. I think he's made of the stuff that might get him certainly to the title level. And I think Gilley now is at that stage where he needs a win, no?
Also, Gilley's had a lot of hard fights. He's up in weight for this, up at middleweight. Aston Brown can punch
big enough for middleweight, though.
Big enough. He got the frame for it, but on the back of some hard fights and a tough career. He had that brilliant fight with Louis Green, didn't he? Amazing fight.
The one I did one in York Hall. Drew Brown.
Oh yeah, that was the last MTK show.
Mad!
It was an amazing fight.
That's one of the best I've ever called. That was an unbelievable fight. That was.
It was the last MTK show.
Drew Brown was brilliant that night.
Yeah.
But Gilley just outlasted him.
Okay, right. Going to move on now to also see the return of Reece Lynch. A lot to like about him. Established amateur. We're going to look ahead. Speaking of established amateurs, Andy, going to come to you for the return of Ben Whittaker, making his second appearance under the Matchroom Boxing banner against somebody that we know quite well over here, Braian Suarez, the Argentinian light heavyweight. Ben Whittaker kind of had that spectacular win last time out, first round stoppage win over Benjamin Gavazzi. Expecting something similar this weekend, or expecting Suarez to put up a bit more of a test?
I think he will be more of a test. I think the Matchroom debut for him was perfect for Whittaker because he's a big signing for them. Eddie was always confident he would get him at some point, and that proved to be true. Those two seemed to get along very well. They pumped him up, and he delivered, and it couldn't really have gone any better. He wasn't a particularly challenging choice of opponent when you saw him on paper, but I think we all understood why that was what they felt they needed to do for not a second debut, but a Matchroom debut, a DAZN debut as well. Suarez will be more of a test, but I still feel like he should be looking to and should be capable of stopping him inside the first half of the fight.
Barry, Ben Whittaker, 28 years old now, kind of had a bit of a stop-start to his professional career, difficult to say. I know, terrible. Obviously had the Liam Cameron first fight, rectified that in an emphatic fashion. God, I'm all over the place. In the rematch, thankfully we've not got too much long left.
Trying to use big words.
He looked good in the rematch. But yeah, it seems to me like 2026 has to be a year where we see a bit of progress now with Ben Whittaker. He's gone over to Ireland, he's training with Andy Lee. Kind of a lot of the talk was about getting his training set up sorted. He's done that. He looked good in the Liam Cameron rematch, looked good against Benjamin Gavazi. Kind of feels like this is an important year for him.
It is. And tell me, this is good for him because quite often when you're building in a weight where domestically is quite strong, and there's loads of rivals there, especially for this next step up, and Lyndon Arthur's one of them. But Lyndon Arthur box fighter, so you got a performance to gauge off that, and if he can do a better job than him, though it might be a different stage in Suarez's career and all the rest of it, if you do a better job than him, then you start comparing performances, and that's always a good thing. With any rival, I did a better job than you. By the way, I think he did quite well. Arthur was winning comfortable and just coasted and got caught with a shot, and then it all unravelled for a while, and then he got his act together. But I mean, there's no real signs there not to think that Whittaker can't play with this guy. But I think he's got to get rid of him. And I mean, you got to do the showboat. And I think with Whittaker, it's funny because the showboating thing takes away the work ethic of getting rid of somebody, but also that's what makes him what it is and makes him the superstar. All that dancing around stuff that I'm not a fan of, but he needs to do more of it because that's what sells him to the other sphere of interest.
He doesn't do it quite so much anymore, does he?
No, but he got to be
The last couple of fights haven't gone long enough, really, have
True,
they? I mean,
that's true.
he's a round
That's
and a
true.
half against Liam Cameron and less than a round against Benjamin
I remember him
Gavazi.
kind of saying in a couple of interviews that he was going to shelve that, going to put it away, but I don't think he ever will completely.
He's
It
going
makes him move it.
I
Yeah,
don't think he should either
But
because
also, yeah, you've still got to do what he's done that since the amateurs. It's not a new thing for him. Okay, probably done it a bit more, and obviously it's a lot on a bigger scale now when he's doing it on Sky. But yeah, you still got to stay with who you are. You can't go out there and be completely different if that's kind of how you've boxed and how you put yourself. Like Naz, for example, is a good example.
But they signed him for that, and even the fight in Saudi with Cameron, they had him on that. I think he wanted to prove that he could have a war, but they didn't want him on the show for that. They wanted him on the show for what he does. That's what they had him on the show for, to show off, to be what he is, and for people to have moan and criticise and praise all the young kids go, right, brilliant, and all the people like of my generation who have been more like just want to see good, go, oh, look at him, he gets knocked out and he's flashy and arrogant. And, I mean, that's the X factor you want, isn't it? That's what Eubank did so well and Naz did so well, because they had their love and hate relationship with the public. Half all the kids love you, all the older people can't stand you because it looks like you're a big head, you're disrespecting the sport and all that crap and tapping people on the head. I know. I told Whittaker to his face live on air, not to his face, and not like it on the confrontational thing. It was a praise. So I'm not a fan of what you do, but you got to keep doing it, do more of it, because that's what difference was going to set you apart. You're a good, but ultimately with Whittaker, let's forget all that. The core of what he does is pretty good. He has good fundamentals. He is a good boxer. He can fight, I think, a little bit. I think with Andy Lee, we'll certainly get him sitting on his punches more and going by his last couple of performances. We've seen that. And speed, once you sit on your punch, he has that natural speed. To sit down on your punches as well, with natural speed at that weight, makes you devastating. We haven't seen that yet. I don't think he's ever going to be an Andy Lee type puncher. But he'll hit you from angles you don't see. He has the footwork to get on the outside of you, to spin you, and then hit you with a shot you don't see. If he can get that balance, like bam, I'm not joking, I'm seriously, to get that movement, but to pause for like a millisecond to get a weight on the shot, then you will knock people out because they won't know where the punch is coming from. Do that, and then you do get rid of all that the drunken master dancing stuff, because you don't need to do that, because the flashiness is in the movement rather than all the packaging around it.
Flashes in the knockout.
Yeah. So I think he's a good fighter there, but there's still a few things that need to be sharpened up, and we're not quite sure. You worry about it's hard. I want the puncher, but in my weight, you can get away with it for a little while, like I did. But in the end, you get exposed. Power is so important. But in that weight, and the bigger you go, the more important it is. And if you haven't got the power to keep him away. In my weight division, if you've got enough to keep them away, it helps, and you can get so far with it, like I did. But in the other, when they're bigger, it doesn't work to say you got to have more than just being able to keep them away. You got to have enough to put them on the backside, and he's starting to show that. But up until the last couple of fights, we weren't quite sure whether he had that. He was beating people who really, looking half way out because of the way it is he. But at the higher level, they don't panic like that. They don't care about missing, and they don't get discouraged about things. So, yeah, we need to see a bit more substance from him. But I think we're seeing it. And like you said, from the amateurs, and you guys would have seen him much more than I did. I never saw him in the Olympics, that's the truth of it. But you guys saw him in the amateurs and the Europeans, and you said how tough he was. Oh, he's shown he had the minerals and the bollocks that like to dig his, bite the gum shield, dig his heels in the canvas and go for it. So I mean, there's all positive signs there, but I don't know where I'm going. You got to stop me.
Yeah, Andy's just going to come to you, just going to relieve Barry there.
That's what I'm saying. It's a good fighter. People think he's not a good fighter because all he is flash and they get exposed. I'm not quite sure that's true.
No, I definitely don't think that's true because, you look at what he achieved as an amateur and it was a lot in a short period of time. And I remember talking about punching with various different trainers, and Billy Graham was the first one. And he said, listen, you give me a good athlete, with good balance. And he picked out a footballer. He said, you give me a footballer because they're connected to the ground, was how he described it. And it's a kind of, they're used to that idea that you get low and you stay a bit side on. You give me one of them and I can teach them to punch hard. You give me somebody with a certain level of athleticism, was how he described it, and I can teach them how to punch hard. And good trainers will all say the same thing. I spoke to Andy about it, Andy Lee, because he was a really good amateur. He wasn't a puncher as an amateur. Not many people are. The Kronk tracked him through his amateurs and then took him over there, and they taught him how to punch hard. And he said that was the currency in that gym, and it was made clear to you from the start that was the currency. If you won on points, you might get a well done. But if you won by knockout, you get a pat on the back and a high five. And that's what it was about. It was about ego. It was about, that's what they wanted you to do. They wanted you to go in there, and it didn't mean you have to be crazy gung-ho, but with the intent that you were going to chin your opponent. It might happen in the 12th, it might happen in the 1st, but that's what you were in there to do. And that is what he will be teaching Whittaker. And you cannot claim that Whittaker doesn't have the kind of balance, the high levels of that a really top athlete has, because he definitely does. I remember standing at ringside talking to Barry McGuigan about it with you, and he was saying, of course, he should get himself down to McGuigan's gym. Shane could teach that boy to really crack. But any good trainer would feel like they could get a hold of Whittaker and maximising all of the things that he's got, get him punching hard.
Yeah, I think intent is the good word. It's having that intent, going about, and like the Cameron rematch, there was intent there. He was set about Liam Cameron really, and then got him out of there and got the job done.
Behind what he did as well, though.
Yeah, he did all of a sudden, but it was kind of like a bit more of the no frills version of him. Yeah. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get him out of there, which is what he did. But I kind of bumped into Andy at the weekend. At the Fury fight, and he said the same. The first thing he says, "Wow, he's like, this kid. He's unbelievable. He can do everything." And we all know kind of his skills and everything that came out of the amateurs. The fight that I would have been talking to you about is the Alexander Kizhniak fight in 2017.
Yeah, he boxed him twice.
Yeah, but when Kizhniak was, he's also made his professional debut. Look out for him. Yeah. But he really stuck it on a 17-year-old Ben Whittaker, and Ben stood there and had it with him and showed that toughness. Okay, it's the amateurs, but again, it's that sort of essence of it. It's kind of
9 minutes against someone like him is a long time.
It's like 72 minutes against another fighter who throws that many punches. But Andy said, he's unbelievably talented. He's punching hard now. So I think we could see a bit of a statement. I think Suarez has been stopped a couple of times early, and I think we may see something very similar this weekend. Right, we've got a minute, let's say. So let's do our prediction for this weekend. We're going to do two, and we're going to have to keep them very, very quick. So we're going to start with the man that we just talked about, Ben Whittaker against Braian Suarez. Barry, your prediction?
I think he gets it done inside 5 rounds. And he looks fantastic in every second of every round before he gets the stoppage. There you go. Live on the zone. Think that's a bonus for me when I go to work Saturday.
I said first half, so I'm pretty much the same. I think there's something brewing for him on the weekend. I think there is, because third fight with Andy, second fight with Matchroom, and this is the year. This needs to be that moving year, because Tokyo's nearly 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for Ben Whittaker. I'm going to go slightly earlier, inside 3 rounds. I think he's going to get to. I'm going to get to him quickly. I think the speed and the punching power will be a little bit too much. Okay. Back round the other way, Andy, to you first for Nathaniel Collins against Cristobal Llorente.
I think Collins points.
Barry?
Yeah, same. I think it's a tough night for him, but I think he wins. Generally wins. No controversy. Clear enough that he gets the thing. But I think it starts off harder for him. But then I think it turns out to be an easier fight down the stretch.
Yeah, I can
reverse.
Yeah, I agree with that in a sense of I think Llorente might start quicker, and it may be that Collins doesn't put as much into the early rounds and just kind of pot shots and moves a bit and has a bit more down the stretch where he can kind of rubber stamp the victory.
Use his brain more rather than just trying. Yeah.
So yes, free for free. Okay, that is all we have time for today on the Betfred Boxing Show. So thank you, as always, to our esteemed panel of guests, the former WBO super featherweight champion of the world, Barry Jones, remembered it both times this week, and the not former super featherweight champion of the world, Andy Clarke. Who knows what happens in the future? And from me, of course. So thanks very much for stopping by, and we'll catch up with you. Yeah, it could happen for you, Bank. It could happen for Andy Clarke. We'll see you next week.